On one of the most gorgeous seashores in the world, godlike Israeli counter-psychological oppressor Zohan is partaking in a getaway encompassed by great food and beautiful ladies. On account of his abilities to astonish, he dazzles everybody by winning each challenge they toss at him effortlessly. Tragically, his excursion is hindered by some higher-ups from the Israel Safeguard powers, who need him for the following mission. It turns out Apparition, the godlike pioneer of a Palestinian fear-based oppressor bunch, was seen at a hacky sack competition in Beirut, which most likely means he's attempting to trap them. This confounds Zohan on the grounds that he got his main foe 3 months prior. However, his supervisors involved him for an exchange and presently he's free once more. Zohan ought not be tolerating this mission. Be that as it may, the notice of likely regular citizen setbacks persuades him to join and make things simpler. Afterward, while he is preparing for the mission, Zohan recovers his most noteworthy fortune from a secret spot in his room. It's an old hairstyling inventory, which he keeps since his fantasy is to turn into a beautician one day. While eating with his folks, he admits he's fed up with struggle and brutality in that he wishes to stop to begin another life in the USA. His guardians don't support thinking a profession in the military is the most steady work he can have, and when they at long last inspire him to concede his hairstyling dream, they snicker at him, calling him a slur for gay. That night, Zohan hits the hay in tears. The following day, Zohan goes downtown, prepared to act quickly. It's not difficult for him to take out each and every lower officer thanks to his powers, which incorporate halting projectiles with his nose. Yet Apparition is an intense treat and makes him pursue him until they arrive at the ocean. There, they begin passing around an explosive until it detonates, and the main thing left behind by Zohan is his oceanside shorts. Ghost presents them to his kin as confirmation that he killed the best Israeli counter-psychological militant ever. However, this is important for Zohan's plan to counterfeit his demise. Lastly, resign. He's simply stowing away submerged. Subsequent to recovering the sack he stowed away with a bird prior, Zohan carries himself onto a plane to New York and goes inside a pet case with canines Sketchy and Coco, who don't come closer until he changes his hairstyle into something he thinks about more current. When the plane comes to the USA, Zohan has given new hairstyles to the canines as well, and he figures out how to get away from securely altogether to advance toward Manhattan. His first objective is the well-known Paul Mitchell's salon, where he presents himself with the counterfeit name Sketchy Coco, motivated by the canines. Furthermore, requests a beautician work, yet at the same he's chuckled at and thrown out for his absence of involvement. Also, crazy demeanor. While meandering around the city, Zohan takes note a youthful Jewish man named Michael being harassed by a driver that nearly run over his bike. Zohan quickly leaps to the salvage, beating the harasser up and procuring Michael's appreciation. Sadly, this triumphant second unexpectedly goes bad when Zohan sees a taxi come by street lamps and perceives the driver. It's Salim, a Palestinian man who Zohan met a large number quite a while back during a mission. Scared of being perceived, Zohan gets Michael to cover his face and takes off until they come to Michael's home. This is the manner by which Zohan meets Michael's mom, Gail. Furthermore, professes to be Australian to remain on her great side. The stunt works and Gail permits him to remain in the loft higher up. A couple of hours after the fact, Michael coincidentally strolls on Zohan and Gail getting going, which is certainly very damaging, so Zohan attempts to occupy him and offer to set things straight by taking him out to meet girls. At the club, Zohan trains Michael to be less fussy in light of the fact that all ladies have something to offer regardless of their age or body type. And while Michael attempts to heed that guidance, Zohan is drawn nearer by Uri, an individual Israeli worker that quickly remembers him. Since he's a gigantic fan, Uri vows not to enlighten anybody regarding Zohan's presence, and even gives him his business card in the event that Zohan needs to take a stab at working at his hardware shop. The next day, Zohan goes work hunting once more, yet none of the neighborhood salons need to enlist him since he doesn't have insight. What's more, makes the children cry, considering to be this will take more time than he suspected. Zohan goes to see Uri in a space in lower Manhattan populated by other Center Eastern settlers. He needs to get an impermanent situation in the gadget shop until he tracks down something better. However, Uri alters his perspective and turns him down, making sense of that this shop kills dreams. All his different representatives had aspiration when they showed up in the nation as well, yet presently they are stuck here and Uri can't permit that to happen to the incomparable Zohan, so he offers a different thought. There's a little salon on the Palestinian side of the road that will presumably acknowledge him. From the beginning, Zohan believes that nothing should do with working in a Palestinian business. However, Uri rapidly adjusts his perspective by showing him what Apparition has been doing recently. On account of his recently discovered fame, he's running a cafe network called Ghost Muchentachin. What's more, the children's dinner incorporates toys of himself. What's more, a detonating Zohan. Angry at the reality his foe can experience his dream yet he can't, Zohan leaves his concerns aside and goes across the road to meet Dahlia, the salon proprietor who is battling to keep it open since lease is being raised nearly each month. She's not dazzled by Zohan's absence of involvement, yet in the end she permits him to clear the floor a couple of movements 7 days for nothing so he can acquire an act of some sort. Zohan keeps on living in Michael's structure, rehearsing his styling abilities on Gail and his extra energy while working at Dahlia's with tons of devotion for such a straightforward errand. He's so careful with his cleaning, as a matter of fact, that it once in a while makes it harder for the different beauticians like Claude to work. To accelerate his gaining and prevent him from standing out, Claude starts giving Zohan a few additional classes after the shop closes. Also, since this he's not bringing in cash out of this, Zohan likewise takes a seasonal occupation as a driver to make money, in spite of the fact that his lunatic driving expertise comes up short. One evening, one of Dahlia's beauticians stops, provoking Zohan to elect to supplant her. Dahlia doesn't believe it's really smart, yet the clients wouldn't fret, and Zohan at long last will do what he's constantly longed for. His hairstyles are a piece obsolete, yet the clients, who are moderately aged ladies, wouldn't fret in light of the fact that he deals with them like sovereigns. He is a tease, moves, offers head rubs that are practically foul. What's more, when the hairstyle is done, he takes the women to the back space for a private session. Soon each lady around is coming to Dahlia's salon to finish their hair by Zohan, bringing loads of cash to the business and permitting Dahlia to keep awake to date with the raising lease. Zohan's prosperity is so enormous he even gets a call from Paul Mitchell himself to attempt to recruit him. However, Zohan is faithful to Dahlia and Claude, who starts getting tips on the most proficient method to treat women as gratitude for his classes. At some point, 2 new clients show up at the salon in Salim's taxi, uncovering Zohan's presence. To the driver, he recollects Zohan impeccably from the time he was in Palestine. Salim had tossed a shoe, also spat at him, so Zohan took Salim's cherished goat as compensation. Infuriated and anxious to seek retribution, Salim calls his companions Hamdi and Nasi to make an arrangement to get Zohan and become as well known as Apparition himself. In the meantime, Zohan and Dahlia go on an outing together. Despite the fact that Dahlia tries to explain it's not a date, both of them get to bond and share their encounters as workers, and Zohan's dazzled to hear another person detests the way both sides disdain one another and won't quit battling for moronic reasons. When they return to the salon, Nassin shows up claiming to be a client and notices things like goats and tossing shoes as a method for social occasion intel. However, Zohan doesn't even know what he's talking about. When Nasi returns to Salim, he feels as enchanted by Zohan as every one of the women. Discussing the women, Zohan finds his body would rather not team up and he can't offer confidential meetings any longer. Seeing a specialist offers no responses, yet all at once sharing his concerns with Gail does, she right away singles out the reality this has been happening since Zohan went on that cookout with Dahlia, which implies he's experiencing passionate feelings for her, and his body will just work for her. Back to Salim, he and his companions are attempting to get their hands on certain bombs, yet the supplier isn't getting the telephone. They choose to rather utilize a recipe from the web and go to the nearby drugstore to purchase fluid nitrogen, yet the assistant misconstrues their intonation and gives them a treatment called neosporin. Meanwhile, at the salon, Dahlia is sending away the authorities in the wake of paying them, making sense of. She couldn't care less in the event that they cut the water on the grounds that she isn't leaving her shop, and she knows they're attempting to push every one of local people out to obliterate their community. Zohan hears this and is dazzled to the point that his body responds to her, which affirms she is the extraordinary one. Yet sadly, Dahlia could do without him back. At night, Salim and his companions drive by and toss their cream bomb at the salon, figuring they accomplished something astounding. However, Zohan simply brings it back home so Gail can involve it for any throbs. The fact that someone might know makes in any case Uri concerned about Zohan's genuine character and tells him to take Michael's change locally observe to accumulate hints. That evening, Zohan finds 3 hooligans doing hostile spray painting on the nearby shops, and rather than calling the police like the local area watch's standards say, Zohan whips them himself. The fact that those makes the following day, it uncovered 3 men had been sent by Ward, the landowner behind the shops in lower Manhattan, who needs everybody to leave so he can annihilate the structures. Furthermore, construct a shopping center. He's baffled with his authorities in light of the fact that not a solitary one of them have figured out how to startle any local people away. Consequently, he'll need to take the matter into his own hands by recruiting a gathering of racial oppressors drove by James, who readily takes the work and will not hold back to play messy. In the area, Palestinian and Israeli bunches are faulting each other for the spray painting. Zohan makes sense if he saw the hooligans had been white folks, yet not even his explanation is sufficient for the gatherings to take care of their disparities. In the interim, Salim and his companions at last concede they can't do this all alone and call Ghost to request his assistance, who acknowledges to come over, subsequent to offering the most disgraceful of remunerations for Salim. Then he promptly starts preparing. A couple of days after the fact, the gossip section in the paper distributes an unclear message that infers Ghost is coming after Zohan, not having any desire to lose his new life when things explode. Zohan tells the truth to Michael and Gail, who are exceptionally tolerating and exhort him to be straightforward with Dahlia also. Anyway, Dahlia isn't as strong. She doesn't mind the reality Zohan is Israeli, yet him being a counter-fear-based oppressor is an issue on the grounds that of reasons connected with her loved ones. Before Zohan leaves, Dahlia gives her a refreshed hairdo book as a farewell gift. The next day, Zohan prepares to go up against Apparition, guaranteeing he can do it all alone. Yet, for good measure, Uri actually calls his companions to prepare their weapons. The bits of gossip say he would appear at a nearby hacky sack game that loads of superstars would join in, including Mariah Carey. Furthermore, a Ward, who had offered heaps of tickets for free. In reality, Ghost is a major Mariah fan, and during halftime he visits her in her changing area, allowing Zohan the opportunity to strike in private. Zohan and Apparition dance around one another, hanging tight for the other to move first. However, previously anything occurs, their experience is hindered by a call from Michael, who fills Zohan in about a gathering of hooligans lighting fires in different Center Eastern shops. Safeguarding his kin is a higher priority than old contention, so Zohan leaves Ghost until further notice. What's more, returns to his area, where another contention among Palestinians and Israelis has begun since they fault each other for these assaults. Salim, Hamdi, Nasi, Uri and his companions join the contention as well. However, when Ghost additionally comes over, he chooses to play legend and attempts to stop the fire without anyone else. Seeing this can't be a one-man work, Zohan sets their disparities to the side and helps apparition put the fire out by utilizing a hummus hose. Thereafter, he makes sense of he would rather not battle any longer and doesn't respond when Ghost attempts to incite him with various hits. He can't comprehend how Zohan can remain so quiet, and his scrutinizing is intruded on by Dahlia, who ends up being Ghost's sister. Also, that is the reason she was unable to accompany Zohan. She makes sense of that Zohan has changed into a better man that acknowledges that here in the USA, they need to cooperate as opposed to battling. Furthermore, therefore she likewise adjusted her perspective. Also, loves him for it. Dahlia's discourse unites the two gatherings. Yet, Salim is as yet furious about his goat until Zohan apologizes and swears he treated the creature like family. The compromise is unexpectedly hindered by the hooligans that are as yet lighting fires. So Zohan utilizes his unique armed force goggles to accumulate some intel and finds those hooligans are James and his men in camouflage. It turns out Ward coordinated the hacky sack game intentionally to get everybody off the roads, giving James space to work and make it look like the Palestinians and Israelis had been going after one another. Ghost needs to pursue them alone, needing to consume his dissatisfaction over the way that, dissimilar to Zohan, he never got to get away and satisfy his own fantasy about selling shoes. Zohan shows his help and understanding, procuring apparition's kinship and his endorsement of the possibility of them battling together. With their capacities joined, it's unquestionably simple for them to whip their foes. However, there's one man left, James, who has a bomb. What's more, an enclosure loaded with pups. There's not sufficient opportunity to stop him manually. So Zohan and Ghost shout the jihadi serenades that their kin haven't sung together in hundreds of years, causing the sewer vent under James to explode and remove him from the bomb. It additionally sends the pups through a condo window where they land securely on a sofa. At that point, Ward shows up to check the progress of his arrangement, yet the police are too there and capture him on the spot. Zohan is prepared to celebrate, however there's a little issue. Ghost isn't fit for halting his shouting in time and winds up causing more harm to the stores. Fortunately, now that the Israelis and Palestinians are joined together, they can cooperate and reconstruct the block into an on the whole claimed shopping center where everybody can keep their shops. Apparitions at last selling shoes. Salim begins a goat ride business. Uri migrates his hardware store there, and subsequent to getting hitched, Zohan. Furthermore, Dahlia opened their salon there also. Michael is their representative, and he styles hair, while utilizing the being a tease procedures he's learned from Zohan. One evening, Zohan is stunned to see as his guardians visiting the salon. Considerably more shockingly, they endorse his business and his Palestinian spouse, and they allow him the opportunity to trim their hair as a indication of their help.